This Week in Startups is brought to you by Tracker. Life is too short to spend looking for your wallet and keys. Save that precious time and get Tracker. Go to thetracker.com, enter promo code TWIST to get 20% off any order. And NetSuite from Oracle, the last business system you'll ever need. To get your free guide, How to Overcome the 5 Obstacles to Successful Growth, go to netsuite.com/twist.
I love Peter because he is a contrarian in the tech space and has opinions that aren't the classic Jason opinions.
No.
And I love that because he's a bit of when we were chatting a few months ago, I said, I have a music background and I always use musical metaphors. And it's like there was disco and disco was all hot and there was this disco bubble and then came punk rock. And I was like, he's like the punk rock.
There you go.
Yeah, because he's just had
a unique worldview.
Well, no, but he's got he's a tech, he's a geek, he's a bona fide,
Sure.
But there's a whole different side of of looking at how to use technology. And I really love the way that he looks at technology. So it's going to be you guys are very different people. It's going to be a very interesting interview.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, do it.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah.
Nice to see you. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Okay. Hey, Peter, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, so you're most famous for being the co-founder or founder of Pirate Bay?
We don't really know.
We don't know?
No, we don't really know. No one really knows who actually founded Pirate Bay. We all have different ideas about it. This is very fluffy. Yeah. So we say co-founder, so everyone's like equally not happy.
Gotcha. And it's very interesting to me, there's a long line of people who were involved in the peer-to-peer technology space who've gone on to do pretty interesting things. Daniel Ek had a company. The founder of Kazaa went on to do Skype. Let's see. Sean Parker in America did Napster and went on to do Facebook and be the president of Facebook, the first president. Travis did Scour, peer-to-peer, and then did Red Swoosh, and then Uber. So a big line of that. You also started in peer-to-peer and have done a lot of different projects. But you went to jail for your project.
Yeah, because I have morals.
Okay.
That's the missing link here, like ethics, morals, and then...
Okay, so the other guys didn't.
Well...
Okay.
I don't want to talk crap about people who's not here. Some of them might be here. But I think I have a higher goal than most other guys when it comes to these things. So for me, technology is about what the change and the impact it has on society, not about how much cash I have in my pocket.
Got it.
So if you look at a guy I'm very often referred to being likened to is Kim.com. Mm-hmm. We have very similar backgrounds. We started with the same computers, same age. We knew each other as kids. He's a little bit older than me, but just a little bit. But he was more interested in the money part of it. I've always been interested in kind of what it does for other people.
And what was the goal? I mean, the goal for him for Mega or Mega Upload or whatever it was called was to make money.
I think he is like many other people in technology, sir, where you want to do fun technology and you want to make something successful and, money is good.
Yeah. But you did the Pirate Bay. Why? What was the reason that you were involved in the Pirate Bay?
So for me, it was all about actually, first of all, it was a fun project for everyone involved because we actually managed to build a community around everything and people shared things and we found a lot of interesting content and so on. But for me, it was enabling people that are not in a market space to actually have access to information. So I travel a lot to everywhere in the world, but one of the first trips that really made an impact on me was when I went to Kosovo in Balkans, and people were obsessed because without Pirate Bay, they wouldn't speak English, they wouldn't have access to Photoshop and all of the other things that made them actually have a career and so on, because no one is interested in selling to Kosovo. So there is no market and there is a lack of it, and people actually learn something and they get a part of the global community, which they don't get without peer-to-peer.
And the government and the Hollywood studios and the people who produce the software felt, hey, that's our intellectual property. It's not your place to give it to the people of Kosovo, or if we choose not to bring it to a certain place in the world. So what's your answer to them? in that argument, I guess.
Well, usually I would say fuck you because it's not their choice.
Right.
Even
though they made it.
Well, I made a lot of stuff, but it's also built upon what other people has made before. So like everything you do is a copy of what someone did before you. So we're remixing things all the time. And it's not about like paying for it or not paying for it. It's about having access to it to begin with. And then you need to find some business model that works for you, that works for the people as well. So I had an interesting discussion before with a journalist from a Swedish newspaper about the problem that, you can save your business model in the newspapers by having a paywall, but you're also excluding people from not being able to read news, which is vital and essential in a society. So the problem is not that people aren't willing to pay, it's that some people can't pay, and it doesn't fit with how technology works and how people want technology to work. So I wouldn't say it's about the money, it's about the access to things.
And how do you balance, or how do you view balancing the cost of creating the content with the fact that you created a platform to allow millions, tens of millions, whatever number it wound up being, to not pay for it?
Hundreds of millions.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to underestimate. Hundreds of millions of people to not pay for it. How does the content get paid for? What do you think is the right model?
Well, first of all, like most Hollywood movies have made their money back before it's even shown in the cinemas. Like Finding Nemo, great example. They sold toys to kids made by other kids for millions and millions before they actually even opened the movie. And that is a huge, that's great for them. I'm not really interested in like the entertainment section. I'm more interested in information and so on. Yeah. Most of the things that get shared on, like the most popular things might be Hollywood stuff, but most of the things that get shared are not. So like the whole idea of the long tail actually exists on peer-to-peer, but they don't end up on the top 100 lists. And then I actually started a company to try to find a way to make sure that people could pay for things as well as sharing it and having it open.
Yeah, that was Flattr?
Yeah.
So explain what the goal of Flattr was. F-L-A-T-T-R, no E, flattr.com.
Yeah. So the idea was to make basically a money-sharing system that is as simple to use as sharing any other form of information. So it works the way that you pay a monthly fee that you decide yourself how much you want to pay, like 2 to 100 euros per month. You put that into the system, and then you basically tag things you find on the internet, and then we just share the money equally across all of those, the creators of those things.
So if I happen to stumble upon a blog post I like or a YouTube video, you would try to figure out a way to get that money to the creator.
Yeah, or even a comment on the YouTube video, which was much better than the video itself. So everyone can actually participate in the money. So there's no difference between a creator and a user. It's the same thing. It's just like, because we always have different roles in society. We do create, we participate. So that is the goal of the system.
And you believed in this access to information so much that you went to jail over it. Well, would you have been able to not go to jail? Would you have been able to settle with them? Or they wanted to take you down for Hollywood? Hollywood was putting a lot of pressure on the government?
Well, yeah, it's a long story. But
take me through the short version of it. Yeah.
Well, the short version, basically, Sweden is corrupt. The longer version...
How is Sweden corrupt?
No, so there was this thing when we started, the Pirate Bay started becoming really popular and famous and so on. A lot of people started using it. The U.S. government had a lot of visitors from Hollywood to the White House who were really, really upset about these weird Swedish people. I'm not Swedish, by the way, so that was funny. So they invited the Swedish Minister of Justice over to the White House, said, like, we're going to put trade sanctions in the World Trade Organization against Sweden if you don't close down the Pirate Bay.
Right.
And the Swedish government had already looked into it. The prosecutor had looked into it, saying, actually, there's a great quote from the prosecutor saying, these guys are clever. They know exactly that everything is legal. Like, they're really, really clever. 6 weeks later after that, because of the force from the government saying you need to take them down, there was a raid against the Pirate Bay. And that's how Pirate Bay became really, really big, actually.
Was because of the raid?
Yeah.
They validated it.
No,
Streisand effect.
Yeah, kind of, because it went from being one of the top 500 sites in the world to being one of the top 50 sites in the world in 3 days because of all of the attention all over the world.
And you were hosting magnets or torrents. You weren't actually hosting the files. You were simply pointing people to these little tags where they could then share it on a peer-to-peer basis. It's like
less than Google does.
Yeah.
They actually have content copies. The Pirate Bay never had that.
Right. So in a way, Google can direct you very easily to a torrent, the same way a Pirate Bay link could, but Larry and Sergey didn't go to jail and you did.
He has more money than me, I guess. Also, he comes from a less corrupt country. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I think the big difference is, like, of course, the goal, that there is a political part of this, because they're not very political like Google. They just want to keep the typical Silicon Valley politician or like political beliefs is that I don't want politics involved. I just want to keep out of politics. Just don't tax me. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. But for me, at least for me, maybe not the other guys from Pirate Bay, but for me, it was a political thing, and we were very vocal about that we wanted to change things and we want to actually have access for everyone, and we needed to make. I want to have a classless society. We don't have to have a class society on the internet. Everyone can have access to everything,
even if you don't own it. Yeah, it's the rub that most people have.
You don't
that you
own
can't. You
data,
shouldn't be able
right?
to make the. Well, I mean, if I take a picture with my camera and my film that I paid for, I would think I would own it.
Well, who made the camera? They actually might own it, or what's the patents for that? The thing you take a picture of, who owns that? There's a Swedish artist called Lars Vilks, which a lot of the Swedish people would know. One of the first arguments I had with him was that he was upset that I took a picture of one of his huge artworks standing in the middle of Sweden, and like by the lake. It's a huge thing, and I took a picture of it. He said, "You can't take that. It's my thing that I've built. You took a picture of it. It's my copyright." So where does that fit in?
Okay, everybody, let me tell you about a product I love. It's called Tracker, Trackr, Tracker without the E. Tracker is an amazing little product that you can attach to a keyring, attach to your phone, put in your wallet, anything that you lose regularly. Now, you know, I, Jason Calacanis, am on top of everything I do, and I never lose anything. But once in a while, I do. And one of the things I'm always misplacing is keys to cars. And my wife also happens to suffer from this, and we're constantly trying to find who was the last person with the Tesla key. Well, when I got Tracker, I took all of our Tesla key fobs, I took all of the minivans key fob, and I put trackers on them. Now, when something's wrong, I can easily take out an app and bing, beep, beep, boop, find the keys. It makes a nice little beep. It tells me where it is. So when you misplace an item and you have that Tracker Pixel is their new product attached, you can use your smartphone, and a 90 decibel alert will help you find it in seconds. I'm thinking about putting these on the remote controls because my daughter now, my 7-year-old, is constantly leaving the remote control in some weird place. She literally took the remote control into the kitchen and put it in a drawer. She put the remote control in her bed. You know, these things happen. So when you misplace an item, you get that 90 decibel alert, and it's got a powerful LED on it, and you can find anything you want in the dark. If you lose your phone, just press a button on the Tracker Pixel and your phone rings, even if it's on silent. So it's reversible too. This is amazing. Every Tracker user is part of the largest Tracker crowd locate network in the world, so you can locate your items anywhere, even if it's miles away. The Tracker 30-day money-back guarantee equals that you will have nothing to lose. So here is your call to action. Go to thetracker.com/twist. That's TheTracker.com. Thetracker.com. No E on that second E in Tracker. /twist, and you'll get 20% off any order. They have a money day guarantee, 30-day money day guarantee. Go ahead and get it. Thetracker.com/twist. Thetracker.com/twist. You will love this product. And I have been a fan of this product for a long time, and this new Tracker Pixel is their best product ever. As years have gone on, they've made their products better and better, and Tracker Pixel is, I think, the holy grail of losing items. It works perfectly. I love it. It is great. It's been 8 years since they started working on this problem, and I got to tell you right now, I think that they have solved it effortlessly. It's so easy to set up. I set it up in literally seconds. I was so impressed. To the team over at Tracker, congratulations. You have figured it out. I know it was a long, arduous trail to figure out how to make all of us have instant recall of where we left our car keys, our wallet, and all these things. It is so delightful to see a startup figure it out, and the Tracker Pixel is delightful. So just from me to you, the team over at Tracker. I just want to say congratulations. I know you've been working on it for a long time, and I am really genuinely impressed with this latest version. Tracker Pixel is amazing. Thetracker.com/twist, thetracker.com/twist, thetracker.com/twist. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode.
What's it like to go to jail for this? Were you in jail with like hardened criminals?
Yes.
So when you're getting lunch or you're hanging out in the weight room, clearly you spent a lot of time there. What is that like? People like, I murdered somebody, and the other person, I robbed a bank, and then they ask you what you did, and you say, I stole Finding Nemo?
I didn't steal it.
Well, that's what they think.
No, I helped people accordingly to the. I was aiding with possible copyright infringement. Is
Right,
what I
so
got.
aiding.
Aiding
So when
with
you
aiding.
explain to the murderer you're aiding with copyright infringement, what's take me to that moment?
Well, first of all, the people working there called me Jesus because I went for other people's sins to prison. I was kind of weird.
You were like the BitTorrent Jesus.
Yeah. The funny thing is, of course, that I started my own religion, which was very handy when I was in prison.
You started a religion
Yes.
based on
Copying.
copying, the copying religion.
You know, life is founded by copying the DNA of mother and father and making a copy.
Got it.
So we have the Copymism Church, the Church of the Missionary Copymist Society.
Ah.
It's like 30,000 members. It's a registered church here in Sweden.
Wow.
Yeah, which is great because I wanted. So I had a little discussion before. So I don't eat meat. I'm a good person, so I don't eat meat. So I wanted totally vegetarian food in prison, and they gave me lacto-ovo vegetarian food, which is not the same thing. And the law in Sweden says that you have the right to get vegetarian food. So after a long argument about what vegetarian actually means, which is a long discussion that vegetarians always have, I just talked to the guys from the church saying, can you update the Bible saying that everyone who is a member of the church must eat vegan food? And they did, faxed a copy into the prison saying, like, for religious reasons, you have to give them vegan food.
Wow.
It's great.
So you hacked the...
Well, they came in saying, like, you win, here's vegan food, and then we never talked about it again.
The warden must have loved you.
He hated me so much.
You got sent to the warden's office a lot, I take it?
Well, yeah, it's like going to the principal, but you are the one telling the principal what he did wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. And how long did you spend?
Like half a year.
Half a year.
Yeah.
Are you bitter about that, or do you just chalk it up to your life and the cost of your unique belief system? I'm curious.
My unique belief system is that I actually have morals. But I think it was very interesting. I met people I would never meet before. I think I actually met less criminals there than here, to be honest.
Really?
Yes.
At the Stockholm Tech Fest.
In general, the city even. The second capital of Scandinavia, Copenhagen being the first.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of the people I met kind of validated my view on life. I think it was very interesting because most people take their liberty and freedom for granted. They don't understand what it is to actually lose it. And losing it for something you believe in and that you don't feel that you did anything wrong is also like a weird situation for you.
Yeah.
But you sleep well at night knowing that you're not the bad person, but people are treating you like weirdly in prison. So I met a lot of people that I still talk to. Like I learned things I don't think I would ever learn outside. I learned how to not kill people because then you go to prison if you do it the wrong way. Where the lung is, we have to stab, which is, I don't know if it's something. Also, how to not smuggle cocaine is great because the people you meet are unsuccessful criminals. So you learn how to not do things. Right.
Right. It's sort of the counterexample.
Yeah. So people always talk about you learn how to do crime in prison. You learn how to, like...
Not do crime poorly.
It's like trial and error.
Right.
With actual trial.
Right. Yeah, and lots of errors.
Yes.
Because they told you what? They put the cocaine in their underwear? It didn't work?
No, like a guy went to prison for smuggling kilos and kilos. Turned out it wasn't actually cocaine, so he got off a little bit easier because he got screwed over. That was fun. Another guy, I can't remember his name, but we always call him 39 because that was the number of times he went to prison. But
39.
39. And then we had to rename him to 42 because he forgot a few times.
Right.
And this is like interesting people that are, you would never meet outside. You can't talk the same way as you do in there because when you're outside, you don't talk about those things.
Right.
So it was very interesting. It is something most people should experience to get
You know
to
what?
know themselves.
Talking to you here,
You want to go?
Yeah, I just feel like I've missed out on my life.
Well, it's not
experience.
too late.
It's not too late.
My lawyer always said is like there are two types of people in Sweden: is people that are, being prosecuted, and the people who are going to be prosecuted. Yeah. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Were you scared in prison? I wonder.
No.
You didn't get scared.
no.
It's not. Is it violent here? Because in America, it's pretty violent.
No, I went to like really
Country club?
opposite. I would say I went to one of like the really high-profile kind of departments. So I had leaders of gangs and mobs, serial killers. The person who's been to prison the longest in Sweden was there. He lived next to me. Stabbed people multiple times, kidnappers, lots of people. But we made cakes, and I told them why they should not eat meat, and they listened to me. I helped them with appealing some cases. It was very interesting.
Hey everybody, I want to welcome NetSuite as a new partner here at This Week in Startups. And if you're listening to this, you're probably a business owner and a leader, and you probably have said one of the following to yourself: why is it taking accounting so long to close the books? And we beat our revenue goal, but we lost money. Why? And the dreaded, we're getting audited. Yes, all of these things are a sign that you've outgrown your business management software. Or maybe you're not even using any software. QuickBooks and spreadsheets work fine at the start of a company. Of course, we all do that. But now there's too many mistakes and delays, and you can't get answers fast. So you need the #1 business management solution for growing companies. That is NetSuite from Oracle. NetSuite from Oracle is going to solve all these problems. You're going to know what's going on in your business in real time. Revenue, expenses, customers' orders, even your HR department, everything in a gorgeous dashboard on your phone even. And their current clients include people like GitHub, Local Analytics, PlanGrid, and 88% of Bessemer's next cloud unicorns are using NetSuite by Oracle. You're up and running fast, and it's the last business system you're ever going to need. So here's your call to action. Very simple. Go to netsuite.com/twist, and you will get your free guide. That guide is called Overcoming Your 5 Obstacles for Growth. Okay, and let's get back to this amazing episode.
Hey, I wonder, since obviously you embrace technology as a technologist, and I would think, correct me if I'm wrong, the internet, distributed technologies made you enthusiastic and thought they would be helpful for the world. Did you believe that, and do you still believe it today?
Well, like everyone else, I have this idea that internet is great and it's decentralized and we can do whatever we want and we have all of these possibilities. But a few years ago, I realized that we're kind of all tricked because the internet has become the most centralized thing we've ever seen in the world. And this naivety around the technology being good has allowed people that think they do good actually do things that become like a target. So looking at like the results is like we have this idea that internet, technology is decentralized, sure, but on top of that, it's like cables are owned by 10 companies, basically. If you like 95% of the internet cables, 10 companies. The content on top of that is controlled by 5-6 companies.
Facebook, Twitter, etc.
Google, Amazon. And we're all helping them building their infrastructure. And we're super happy if we get something passed into their world and we get recognition from these centralizers. And for me, that is like, we're rebuilding into something it shouldn't be. And to begin with, it was great. Like we could get like Obama. That's the example that internet managed to get Obama to be the first black president of the United States. But then we never talk about today's reality where Trump is the same results.
Yeah, and Twitter and social media, Twitter with Obama and Facebook with Trump were key elements to their getting elected.
Yeah. And it is, that's what we are a little bit nostalgic and we don't want to really change how we perceive things. So I think that the whole idea of the internet being this liberating technology it's really hard to challenge. But it is not that anymore. It's today an infrastructure for kind of, it's becoming more like cable TV. You don't share movies on your own platform. You do that on YouTube, on Netflix, and a few other key players. And they all get bigger and bigger, and they all, buy each other. These huge companies just become bigger and bigger and bigger. And that should be, we should raise some warning flags there somewhere.
Does the centralization of our behavior and location and essentially the giving up of our privacy worry you?
Of course it does. It should worry everyone. Like, we have so many examples in history where it went wrong, and we don't draw from them at all. And when you talk about it, people are like, oh, it's so negative, and then afterwards it's too late. And I just kind of gave up on that. I do other things instead.
As somebody who is I think you would agree you're a hacker. You're somebody who can find information on the internet, build systems. Do you think any of our information at places like Facebook is actually secure, or do you think that's all been compromised by governments, friendly governments, and unfriendly ones?
Well, first of all, compromised and friendly and unfriendly, it has different,
Yeah,
we have different views on all sides of all the spectrum. But of course, when it's centralized, it becomes a target. So like Facebook having all of this information means that government will come and tell them, give that information to us. And being part of a country like Facebook is based in the United States, they have no way to say no when the government comes because they decide over Facebook. That means I have no say. The US government decides over my information. So it is insanity when I look at this. I don't understand how we allow that to actually happen.
What are you working on now?
So
we have the Flatter.
I sold, well, not I, but we sold Flatter, AdBlock Plus, which is a quite big plugin, bought Flatter. So they're integrating Flatter into AdBlock Plus, which is interesting to see. Do you know AdBlock Plus?
Which one?
AdBlock Plus.
Oh, AdBlock Plus, yes,
Yeah.
of course.
So,
the largest ad blocker.
I have a few 100 million users, something like that. And it was really interesting.
Are they based in Germany? Or?
Yeah, they're a German company. I was interviewed by a German journalist when we started working Flatter and AdBlock together, because Flatter is very loved by the German media. It's like a big thing for them to actually make money from the users in a friendly way and so on. So a journalist asked me, so Peter, how does it feel now that you're going to start working with the devil, with AdBlock, because they're so hated by the media industry? And she realized who she was talking to, and it was kind of funny. Because, but Flatter was great. And after Flatter, I've done a lot of things, but mostly I try to work on challenging my own things. I do a lot of artwork because I think it's interesting and a different way to express yourself. And I also want to try to not talk to the same audience all the time, because that's what we tend to do in the bubbles. We talk to the same people, and everyone acknowledges that, and they agree with you. And I'm not that type of person. So right now I'm working on 2 TV series. One is a documentary show about activism, where I meet with activists and I go with them on different occasions and work with them. And so like a mixture between dirty jobs and idiot abroad kind of thing.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
What was the most interesting activist you met with, or what was the most intriguing to you? Because you're an activist yourself.
Yeah, well, I haven't met. It's not done yet. We've only done a few episodes, but I'm mostly looking forward to some of the animal rights activists, because I also have an animal rights activist background. So, and they're because we're funded partly by a public service, and they don't really like working with someone like me who, a little bit controversial. And we're going to do very controversial things, which is interesting.
The factory farming complex, how will that be looked at 50 or 100 years from now? Well, I think the arc of history, because it is pretty intense what's happening.
It depends if it's Sweden writing history, because Sweden has a potential of rewriting history so it looks nice. So they help the Norwegians to not have the Germans coming in, stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see who writes history. But I think that we've done so much wrong to animals, and they should be some punishment for that, but it's not going to be any punishment.
It does seem like when we look back on history, factory farming will be a very dark, cruel moment of our history.
I think Mark Zuckerberg will somehow manage that to go away with his filters.
Right.
Yeah. When he's president.
When he's president, yeah. Who's scarier to you as president, Trump or Zuckerberg?
Zuckerberg, definitely. Because Trump looks the part he plays. He looks evil. He looks like a fucker, and he is a fucker.
Yeah.
And Mark Zuckerberg looks like he's a nice guy, but he really is a fucker as well.
But, I see, yeah. Interesting. And because, and you are pretty convinced he's going to run for president?
Oh, I think everyone is.
What role do you think the Russians played in the election of Trump, if any?
Well, I think, of course, they did what the US always does. So they influence elections, which the US do all the time. And I think it's kind of hypocrisy that the US are upset about some other country coming in, influencing. Why shouldn't they?
Right.
Yeah. So of course they should. Otherwise, it would be weird.
That the Russians didn't do it because we've done it to other countries.
Well,
we've put
every
our own
country influences other countries. So I don't understand why there's so much talk about like, oh, if Russia did this and this. This is the same every country does all the time. It's just like we need to be a little bit more open about that.
Interesting. As an American, we're mortified that somebody was able to do that.
So let's talk Nicaragua. Let's talk about other countries that you decide over. I think one of the activist groups I'm really interested in talking to is a Nigerian group that demand voting rights in your country. And the reason is like 95% of their politics is run by the United States. So whatever they vote for locally has no effect on their actual life. So they say that if you have democracy, you should be able to vote in the United States and that's the idea of democracy. If someone has power over you, you should have a say in it. And I think that's kind of an interesting thing. I think everyone in the world should be able to vote in the United States because the United States have so much influence over the rest of the world. Right. So it is the most undemocratic democracy right now because they control so much without letting actually people having a saying. And then again, you don't even listen to your own, I'm not saying you, but the United States doesn't even listen to their own people because Hillary had more votes, but she still didn't win.
We do have a broken system with this electoral college.
Yes.
We've agreed on that for a long time, and I think now we may have a great reason to fix it.
Well, if you really want to fix it, let's make sure that everyone else can vote as well outside of the country, or otherwise take away the power.
You think that people outside the United States who are impacted by U.S. policy should in fact vote in America?
Yeah.
That's
Why
fascinating. Well, because they're not citizens and they don't live there.
Well, I think that doesn't really matter because we have a globalized world now, right?
Do you think the United States is a force for good in the world? Do you think we've been a force for good in the world net at the end of the day?
I think both yes and no.
Okay.
So it is not, nothing is really binary.
Right.
Not even genders are binary, for God's sake. So nothing is binary, and you can't just get good or bad. You have to have some bad with the good, and you have to have some good with the bad, and then there's everything in between.
Do you think democracy and capitalism are the right system for humanity going forward? Do you think we need to fundamentally look at democracy and capitalism and maybe rethink them? Because capitalism and democracy has driven a lot of the change that we've seen in technology and in the world for in positive ways, but there are also some edge cases that are a little bit weird.
I wouldn't call them edge cases. I'm totally against capitalism.
You're against capitalism?
Oh, yes, definitely. And I also think that democracy is just the least bad system we've found.
Right.
So we need to find something which is a little bit better than democracy. But the problem is that we're always striving towards this goal called democracy. We don't really define it well. We don't really know how it works. We have some sort of implementation. But again, why don't people in Nigeria have a voting, right in the United States if they influence so much? So we don't really have democracy. So it's just like we need to have, a discussion about, especially with the globalized world, that especially the internet has brought so much globalization for good and bad, it doesn't really matter. But none of these systems, the political systems, all of these other things, they don't really work anymore. So if you're interested in saving and protecting the environment, what you do in a country like Sweden, maybe you vote for the Greens. Has no impact on the actual climate change of the world in reality. So that's why activism is interesting, because then you can go to Brazil and you can meet people who actually stand in front of machines trying to cut down the rainforest. They do actual change much more than if you vote for a Green Party in Europe. But there's no attention for that, and there's no interest in that. So I think we need to redefine how politics should work quite heavily if we're going to have a sustainable.
Do you have an idea? Do you have an idea in this realm? Do you have some ideas or a broad framework yet? Or are you thinking about this?
No, well...
I mean, you did create a religion, so why not a political system?
My religion is also stupid, and I don't believe in it. But it is, at least we have to experiment. And I think that, of course, coming from this part of the world, I think the social democracy has been working quite well until... it's not social democracy anymore. It's again capitalism. So we need to find something, but it doesn't have to be based on something old. We can think about something new as well. And I think one of the problems I have with most politicians and so on is that they are afraid to saying like, I don't have the answers, because we don't really have the answers. I have many ideas. I don't know if they will work or not, but I don't have a good answer. But I know that something is broken, and just having the question should be good enough to start with. But in general, you have to always present some answer to things. Otherwise, people don't listen to you.
I think...
Did I confuse you?
No. In this conversation, I thought I would be disagreeing with you a lot more.
Yeah.
And I'm finding myself in alignment with you more often than I feel comfortable being in alignment with you, because you have some very strange worldviews. But I do think you are 100% right that capitalism as a system, we probably differ in the degree in which we think it's got some problems. But I do think that this is a problem that people want politicians to pretend they have the answer, when in fact the problems we have, we all know, are so complex that there isn't an answer that you can pull out of a box. There is only a process for resolving problems like global warming and monitoring them and iterating on them, just like you might on a website or a product. So I think we should start a political party together.
I'm not going to do that again.
We should start one, and our political party could be the rational party that works based on iteration of solving problems. The I don't know party.
So last time I was, someone started a pirate party. I don't know if you know.
I do know about that. You guys had great parties.
I don't like the pirate parties. I did run for the EU Parliament, but only because I wanted diplomatic immunity, which was my voting campaign actually. Vote for me, get diplomatic immunity.
Perfect.
But it is funny, like the last time I was somewhat involved in that, it actually ended up, if you go to Wikipedia and you see like mock political parties, there's a link to reference also see, and says the pirate party. Then it's fun. But if you want to start something serious, I'm not on board.
Right.
So
only you're a bit of an absurdist.
No, I'm just me. I'm not absurd at all. I'm just I want to have fun, and that's
just want to have fun.
Yeah, like all girls want to have fun,
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
All non-binary people, whatever. All people are non-binary.
Any other projects you're working on that we should take a look at?
So I started a few months ago. I started a project called Njalla. Do you know what a Njalla is?
Yeah, that's Njalla.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? A Njalla?
You can buy a domain name.
Yeah.
But nobody knows I own the domain name, and you hold it for me.
No, I own it for you.
You own it for me.
Yeah. So you pay for it, I get it.
And I use it.
Yeah, if you want to, but it's mine.
Okay.
So you pay, it's mine. So it's like normal capitalism, but I let you use it. But the whole idea is to make people anonymous.
To make people anonymous.
Yeah.
Because the domain name does seem to be, we've just had this in the United States with Stormfront, I believe is the name of it. Basically the Ku Klux Klan, the racists in our country are not allowed to register domains with American companies because they don't want to touch it.
Yeah.
So your ability on a free speech basis to even exist on the internet is going away, at least because the infrastructure you need, whether it's a CDN or a domain name registrar or a hosting company or a bandwidth provider, the activists who are against Nazis and the KKK are effective enough at putting pressure on Google or GoDaddy to not let them register their domains.
And you want them to be allowed?
Well, here's the issue. Private companies should be able to pick their customers, but the internet should be allowed to be an open platform. And so it gets back to the size and scale of these companies. And it's very hard for an individual to be able to say, I want to allow Nazis to exist in the world after the Nazis killed millions of people. But you would gladly host a Nazi website.
No.
So you would too not allow a Nazi domain name to be registered.
No, I would just keep it, I guess. I don't know. They could have it back, but I don't want to have it in my system.
So you too would not want to host it.
No, but the problem is that they have an issue, and this is something which I don't have a solution for because I don't like them, I don't want to work with them, I don't want to help them whatsoever.
Right.
But I also think that you should have the right to freedom of speech and all of these things. So it is interesting because it affects, and my brother always says it's better to have double standards than no standards at all. Yeah. And I kind of agree with him because I have double morals there.
This happens to be one of the most challenging ones. I appreciate you saying that you don't have the answer because the ACLU in America is saying, hey, we understand that people don't like the fact that we're trying to protect the speech of Nazis and the Ku Klux Klan and these white nationalists, but if we don't protect their free speech, it is a slippery slope and it will come right down and wipe out a whole another swath of people.
Well, the problem I had is the guys at Cloudflare who, I think the CEO said one day he woke up and said, I'm going to kick these Nazis off the net or something like that.
Right, he said I had enough because it was too much drama.
Yeah, and for me it was, okay, so one guy had the power, who's this guy and when did I elect him?
Right.
Like that was my issue with that.
Well, he was the only guy left who would host them.
Well, but then there's a lot of other things he says he won't kick out because it's freedom of speech, including the Pirate Bay, which is also behind Cloudflare. And for me, this is an issue that one guy had that decision. And when it comes back to the Nazi thing, I'm white, I'm a man, I'm not the target for the neo-Nazis. Right. So I should not have, I'm not affected personally by the things that they fuck up, right, the things that they destroy. So why should I have a say in that discussion? There should be the people that are affected, they should have a say, and then we should listen to them. So I'm trying to not meddle with something, which is really hard for a white man in his 30s in Europe to not meddle with things.
Right.
So that's something more people should rather do. I don't understand the situation. That's why I'm not going to be involved.
Interesting. Okay. On that note, let's give him a big round of applause.
Peter,
that was a great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time.